Hi, welcome to another Fallout 76 Dev Dive, where we take a closer look at upcoming features and improvements and chat about them with members of the development team. This time, we're going to be talking all about seasons, and specifically our next season, Heart of Steel, a Dread Island tale. We're also going to focus in on a collection of scoreboard enhancements for Fallout First members. Joining me from the dev team today are Nate, Jesse, and Dawn. I'm so glad all three of you could join us to talk about Season 9. Let's go around and give everyone at home a little intro to who you are and what you do for Fallout 76. Nate, why don't you kick things off?
Cool. Yeah, thanks, Nate. So I'm also Nate Emmett. I am the monetization lead for Fallout 76. So I am in charge of everything having to do with the Atomic Shop, seasons, Fallout First, all of those things kind of fall under me and my team. And I love coming in every day and trying to find ways to make new cool things for all of our players to enjoy and show off their own story while they're experiencing the Wasteland.
Very cool. Glad to have you here. Jesse, how about you?
Thanks, Nate, for let us come on and talk today. I'm Jesse. I work on the same team as Nate. I'm a monetization designer, handle a bunch of different things for the team. I also really love making video games, and it's an honor and a pleasure to work here at Bethesda.
All right. Awesome. Glad to have you, Jesse. Don, welcome back. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. I'm Don Edgton, lead designer for 76. And one of the driving forces for the scoreboard and some of the seasonal themes, and hoping to share some of the details about that today.
Okay, well, let's dive right in. In case people have been away for quite a while, they may not be familiar with what a season actually is for Fallout 76. So why don't you run us through what a season is and how players can take part in those?
Yeah, so a season in Fallout 76, it's always centered around the scoreboard that shows a unique story for that season. This year, it's Dread Island. The way that players progress through the season is by completing challenges that we have in the game, both daily and weekly challenges. And then completing it all gives you awesome rewards.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely a ton of rewards on those scoreboards. Each one of our seasons and scoreboards takes us somewhere new. Where are we heading with Season 9? What characters are we going to meet? Where are we going?
Yeah, as Jesse said, Season 9 will take us on a journey to the mysterious Dread Island, where the famous Franklin family has crash-landed on the island with their Assaultron bodyguard named Hart. It's based on a book series in World by Robin Zabrinsky, and it's an island full of dangers, both from the inhabitants and the island itself. It's a little more serious in tone than some of our previous seasons, and we hope people really enjoy it as much as we've loved making it.
So Dread Island, it's somewhere we haven't quite been with a season before. Don, how do we decide on a season theme and scoreboard art and everything that comes with it?
The creation process for every board has been different, but we always start with the same key objective. Make sure that every board we make is somebody's favorite. Fallout's a very diverse IP with humor, sadness, action, whole world of alternate history to explore. And we like to keep things fresh and continue to explore new aspects of the franchise, while also paying homage to its long history. For new in-game fiction, we have a phrase we like to use to kind of test if the idea is solid, and we say, does this evoke nostalgia for something you've never seen before? It's a good test for us for whether or not something is kind of pulling the right levers. When we do leverage some of the amazing existing in-game fiction, we always want to make sure we're doing it justice. We're Fallout fans as much as anybody, and getting a chance to explore some of that pre-war society has been a real joy.
We create a lot for these characters and these locations and everything sort of behind the scenes. How can players go about learning more about them in the game or beyond the game?
Sure. You'll get to know about the new crop of characters from Dread Island in a new hour-long radio drama narrated by the fictional author, Robin Zabrinsky. We got an excellent voice cast and performances in this one. We really can't wait until people can listen in as they tour Appalachia. Prairie Radio in general has hours and hours of dramas, commercials, and music that can help flesh out our in-game world, and definitely tune in if you haven't already.
I love Pirate Radio. Just flipping it on, the Pip-Boy while you're out adventuring is just the perfect backdrop to everything. And you get those, radio plays and radio dramas as you're playing. It's great.
We join now the famous Flying Franklin family.
I think that's one addition a lot of people really liked about one of our recent patches. So let's talk a little bit more about rewards, because we talked about the story and the characters and all that. But, when it gets down to it, players are completing challenges for, to boost up their collection. So how do we decide on what goes into a season's reward pool?
Yeah, that's part of the fun. So, as Don's been talking about, we spend an extraordinary amount of time in developing the theme for each of the seasons, and we go further than just what players are seeing on the scoreboard. Like he mentioned, we're developing characters, backstory, lore. When we have all of that written down and encapsulated, we move on to speaking with our art director. We already know how many ranks we're going to be putting in a season. We know its general structure. And so we sit with the art director and he really starts coming up with the ideas for the actual specific rewards that he thinks would be really compelling for our players, really rewarding. And it's a back and forth. It's a huge collaborative effort between our entire team because we're trying to make sure that the items fit the theme, but we're also trying to make sure that the rewards will give things that players have been requesting for a while. We read Discord, we read the Reddit, we listen to our players, and players are oftentimes asking for, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we had X? And we will always go back to those wells and be like, hey, maybe we should bring X into this season. How can we integrate it? Does it fit the theme? Is it the right thing to put in? So it's this massive discussion, collaboration, and really, really exciting time to come up with some amazing ideas to make sure that our players are getting the best rewards for each of the seasons.
Awesome. Yeah, it definitely sounds like a ton goes into it. I know you mentioned our art director, John Rush. He gets excited about a lot of things as they're in progress, and it's always great to see some of the art as it's coming together. So let's shift gears just a little bit here and talk about some of the improvements that are coming with our next update. So we're bringing a number of enhancements for Fallout First members on the scoreboard. I think the first one we wanted to talk about was the score boost, which will help Fallout First members earn a little bit more score when they complete those challenges. Jesse, what can you tell us about how this works and how it will change as players rank up?
Thanks for the question, Nate. I'm really excited about the Fallout First score boost and how our members are going to react to it. As they progress through the Season 9, there's going to be 3 different spots on the scoreboard that when they unlock all 3 of them is going to give them 25% more score for the rest of that season. And that includes all the way up to rank 100 and beyond into our post 100 ranks.
So that's 25% maximum.
That's correct. Yes.
Awesome. So I guess my very first question, and I'm sure the first question a lot of people are going to ask is, so what happens to that during a double score weekend when people are earning, twice the usual challenge score from their challenges?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and something we wanted to communicate really clearly to the members. So in-game, the challenge screen will always show you the amount of score you're going to get for completing a challenge. So it's really easy to just go in and see, okay, this challenge is going to give me 1,500 score. So the math behind is if you have a challenge that's worth 1,000 score and there's a double weekend, you'd get 1,000 for the regular, you'd get 1,000 for the double score, and your 25% boost is applied to the base challenge. So you'd get 250. So in this case, you'd get 2,250 score for completing a challenge.
Perfect. That's, I just want to compliment you on doing some math, podcast math, radio math. The risk of getting it wrong is high, but I think it checks out.
I was told there would be no math, but I was right.
You were wrong. This is all about math now. Our second enhancement we're bringing is some Fallout First specific challenges. What can you tell us about how Fallout First members will experience those?
Yeah, so Fallout First challenges are going to be represented in the challenge menu with a Fallout First icon. Players who have an active Fallout First membership will be able to complete these extra challenges. They're going to help you progress through the season faster, and they can be either daily or weekly challenges. And you're just going to have to check in the game to see what's active during the season.
So they can be daily or weekly. Is there anything that's unique about these? Are they different from the other challenges that are already in the game?
These challenges are going to be very similar to existing challenges. We're going to rotate in what a Fallout First member can do every day or week. And you're just going to have to check in game each day to see what the Fallout First challenge is.
So next up, we're adding even more Fallout First rewards to the scoreboard. We've had a few here and there on scoreboards in the past, but we're going to be bringing additional ones to Season 9. So what can players expect to unlock, and how did you decide on which rewards we're bringing to Fallout First members?
Yeah, so this has been something that we've wanted to add for a long time. Like you mentioned, we've had some already, but we want to expand it. We've had a lot of our members asking for more of Fallout First to be represented on the scoreboard, and this is one of the ways in which we're trying to do that. So players will find a whole bunch more rewards who are members. They're going to largely be consumable items that we've seen and offered previously. So you can imagine our normal repair kits and Jesse was talking about the score bonuses that will be available. Those will be coming on to here as well. And we'll also have some exclusive vanity items. So some of our normal earnable objects that players have already been experiencing. There'll be a couple as well that will be available for Fallout First members. That we're hoping that the variety that we're bringing here is something that really meets the demand of the requests of our players, and something that we're going to be continuing to follow up on and watch going forwards and adjusting as needed.
Let's kick it back over to seasons. I'd love to go around and hear from everyone on what your favorite season theme was so far. Nate, you're up.
Sure. Without hesitation, without a doubt, it's Katie Inkwell and Escape from the 42nd Century. We mentioned before about the entire visualization process, building the theme for each season, building the character histories. And when Dawn came to our group with the dolphins, I mean, it was just one of those moments of, yes, this, absolutely. And in addition to that, he had one of his designers on his team building out the dolphin posters, like the Nuka Girl, but in dolphin form. I mean, it was just instantly fell in love, so much so that the moment I got a digital copy of that, I set it up as my avatar for Slack in our in-work Slack. Like, that is my avatar. I love the creativity, the hystericalness, but also this very serious and pulpy nature of the entire Katie Inkwell story, but especially the 42nd Century. Hands down my favorite.
That is a good one. I think some of those dolphin gear even spawned a couple of articles from news sites. Dawn, how about you?
Yeah, I think A Better Life Underground, featuring a disturbingly large amount of Vault Boys, is a personal favorite. We had asked ourselves when we started that, how many Vault Boys can we possibly fit on one square? The answer was a whole lot. And I think the accompanying soap opera, sponsored by Abraxo, is also easily one of the most ridiculous things I've ever done in my career. It was a real joy making something that was just kind of over the top and really just very, very Fallout.
Definitely. I remember when that scoreboard art was first in the game, and I just spent longer than I'd like to admit just looking around at what all the different Vault Boys and Vault Girls were doing.
We wanted one joke per inch was the mantra.
Oh, nice. I like it. Jesse, how about yourself? You got a favorite season?
I'm a big superhero fan, so anything with the Unstoppables was definitely going to be high up on my list. I also really liked the superhero sidekick outfits from that season. I thought those were really fun. I will say, however, that my favorite season is one we haven't talked about yet, so you'll have to keep looking for that one.
I feel like I know what you're talking about, and I think I'm going to have the same opinion. But, for myself, the Captain Cosmos and Dr. Zorbo rivalry has been amazing. I just love the connection between season 1 and I believe it was season 7, and Dr. Zorbo being humiliated and trying to get his revenge was just perfect. I loved it. So how about community feedback? How does that play into how we develop seasons?
Community feedback is everything. It really, really is, because that is how we find out what all of our players want to see in everything that we're developing. Or we're constantly reading what's being posted. We have our community members putting together huge digests of the requests from our players to make sure that we're not missing anything. Whenever we are putting together a new season, we go back to those lists, we're reviewing what folks are talking about, and we're trying to find ways to implement those requests, those items. I mean, there are way too many good ideas than we could ever possibly add. We try to bring in as much as we can, but there's ideas and stuff that we want to add in, that we want to show to players, new ideas that we want to experiment with as well. So we try to find the balance of all of that. But without the community feedback, I can't imagine that our systems would be nearly as good as they are today.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know how involved you guys are with community feedback and just reading through everything. And, Devin and myself try to bring you as much as we possibly can. It's always so fun to look through community reactions on the first day that we reveal a season or, the first time that it's available in the game and just see what everybody thinks. It's just really cool to get that view from so many different perspectives. So we've talked a lot about Season 9. We've talked a little bit about some past seasons. Is there anything you can share about seasons that are yet to come?
Well, yes, but I don't want to spoil the surprise. I will, however, leave you all that, some special bubbly friends of ours might be making a return, so keep an eye out.
Ooh, interesting. Well, I can't wait to learn more about that. So we're going to go a little bit behind the scenes again, and I'm going to ask you guys if you have any fun or interesting stories from the development of seasons.
We've made a lot of boards that never left development for one reason or another. And I think two that stand out to me that, myself, Jake Rigmore, and Ashley Mosley did early on were solo outings for the unsung members of the Unstoppables, the Inspector and Man-to-Man. For the Inspector board, we'd had her on a journey into the heart of a magical castle, filled with strange artifacts. In the end, though, it ended up kind of feeling like a Scooby-Doo version of Clue, which was just not the right fit for Fallout. And for Mantarand, we tried what I think DC has tried many times with Aquaman. Make that character cool and interesting on their own. Quite a bit of work later, we learned the fairly obvious lesson: Man-to-Man is not cool. Fish powers will never be cool as much as we would like to try.
Or Man-to-Man. All right. Nate, how about yourself?
Yeah, so we're coming up on season 9. We have 8 of these that we've gone through. It's an enormous amount of time, and there have been so many hysterical moments in developing this. Like Dawn mentioned, there are a ton of seasons boards that they ideated that never came to life, and some of them are just too funny. But probably my favorite moment, I got 2 that are relatively quick. My first one is, I mentioned before, I changed my Slack avatar to the dolphin Nuka girl. When we are developing these boards, we're pretty tight-lipped about them internally because we have so many that get discarded. We don't necessarily want to get anyone's hopes up internally, but we knew we were going to do the dolphins. And so I changed my Slack avatar to that. And it took weeks before people noticed that it was the dolphin Nuka girl. And people started asking, like, where did that come from? Where did that come from? Because we hadn't shown them the dolphin board yet. So I loved kind of creating this internal anticipation for it until we actually showed it to the whole team. And they're like, oh, that makes more sense. And then Nate, you mentioned Daphne. Daphne was hysterical to develop because she is so well written. She's so well voice acted, but there were so many hysterical moments with her character just disappearing and not coming back when she was trying to change her clothes, or just wandering off randomly in our internal play tests, that it became very much a moment of, where did she disappear? Like, where is this magic girl? She was a lot of fun to develop, and I'm really glad that people took to her so well, because she's one of my favorite items we've ever introduced.
Yes, lots of love for Daphne in the community. So cool to hear those behind the scenes stories and how you tease the rest of everyone else with your Slack icons, Nate. Jesse, how about you? Do you have any favorite moments from developing a season?
The thing I love about seasons development the most is just how big of a feature it is. It touches the whole game. So you get to meet with all the different groups. It's a real sense of teamwork and accomplishment when you actually wrap a season and ship it. It's a huge relief when all that work is done. I also love the special one-off utility items, like the horse racing game or the West Virginia slot machine, because they're so unique. They're not like our other assets, so each one is almost developed as its own little mini feature. So it's really fun to see those come together and all the work that goes into them.
Those are really cool. Someday somebody's going to have their very own arcade after, 20 seasons or something like that. We'll see something really cool where you can just go in and play a bunch of those games.
It sounds like a good community challenge.
All right. Well, since we have you guys from here from the Atomic Shop, what's it like working on the shop?
For me, I love it. I mean, I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't love it, but I love the opportunity to... My big thought is I love giving players the option to tell their story in their way, right? Role players are a massive part of not just the Fallout game experience, but just all Bethesda games. We create these astonishing worlds that let players just sink into and create their own stories, live totally different lives. And for me, I like the Atomic Shop as a way to empower those players, give our players more tools to tell their story, more tools to build their worlds, more tools to make their characters living entities that now other players for the first time get to meet and story with and play with. And I just simply love that, having that opportunity to give that to our players.
That's definitely true. And, we definitely see different groups of people who have different tastes as well. I always like to consider the people who like the realistic items versus kind of some of our more wacky and goofy things as two opposing factions where, you have on one hand the people who love the realistic stuff and demand more of it. And then when we do some of those, then you get the other crowd who comes out and says, we want more goofy stuff. We want more crazy stuff. Keep putting that stuff in the shop. So it's always fun to see where that balance winds up. Correct me if I'm wrong, but because of sometimes, the smaller scale of you're working on, like, let's say one item in particular, you may be able to have more room to address some community feedback without affecting too much else in the game. Like, I think one thing that comes to mind, for example, is, an item that we put out that has that can be placed on the ground in your camp. Like if players are asking like, hey, we'd love to have this sink in and match the terrain a little bit better. I think we've done that several times, and I think that might be a good example of the flexibility that you guys have when it comes to some of what your work is.
Yeah, absolutely. It's flexibility and it's risk, right? When we want to make sure that we are not breaking the game for other players, but the item, like to your example, getting an item to actually sink a little bit better or stand a little bit flatter on the terrain doesn't touch a quest, and we like to keep it that.
Cool. Well, I guess as we sort of wrap up here, is there anything else that you would love for players to know about your team or about the Atomic Shop?
I think the only thing that I would bring up is I hope that my passion for building items for the Atomic Shop, for building these systems, for seeing the success of seasons and Fallout First Go Forwards, I hope that passion comes through, and I hope that our players recognize that the members of the Atomic Shop team are just as passionate, that we're all super excited to deliver this content, to make these items, to give players these opportunities, and that we, like I said, we listen to the community. We want to know what you want to see. Let us know. Tell us. We can't promise we'll get it there, but it helps us determine what is important and what we're actually bringing out.
So from time to time in the community, we see players sort of bring up the question of, how come the Atomic Shop gets updated as frequently as it does? And I just wanted to see if you guys are able to speak to that a little bit and maybe some of the challenges you guys face in doing so.
Yeah, happy to. Why does it happen like that? I mean, it's simply because we're a different team. Atomic Shop team is a smaller part of the whole that creates Fallout 76 and updates it and develops the amazing content that we're able to deliver to players. And that gives us a bit more flexibility, right? We're smaller. We have less risk in what we're doing. We're adding items into the game. We're not building quests, thankfully. And that gives us just way more flexibility to address those specific issues that get brought up by players. Also, we release content, the store updates every week. And in order to make sure that the store is updating every week, we have to make sure that we're putting in content in every patch. Since we're adding content in every patch, that gives us a much, quicker turnaround time on getting our fixes in. The main development team is usually so busy building the huge systems like Expeditions, the Pit, or daily ops. They don't have the same flexibility that we do to update each patch and update our items more quickly. So it's this interesting balance between us having a more aggressive timeline, but also that giving us a little bit more opportunity to fix the issues that we find or are reported by the community that we might have missed. And we also just want to make sure that when players are spending hard-earned money on buying items from the Atomic Shop, we do want to make sure that those items, are worth the money that they're spending.
All right, well, that just about does it for this Dev Dive. Jesse, John, Nate, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate that you were able to set aside a chunk of time to be here. Any closing thoughts for everyone before we say goodbye?
Yeah, I wanted to say thanks for the invite. It was fun being on the show. I can't wait to see how all the players react to Season 9 and the Fallout First enhancements that we've made. I'll definitely be checking the subreddit and Discord after the title launches.
Thanks for having us on. Thanks for giving us an opportunity to come out here and talk about what we've got coming with the seasons. And I just want us to say a special thanks to all of our players for giving us the opportunity to keep building awesome things every day. I hope that we're doing it for a very long time. So thanks.
Yeah, it's so much fun watching all the players, engaging in the various seasons. We love seeing how they land, reading through the feedback, and hearing about people's, individual journeys through the end of the scoreboard.
Very cool, guys. Well, thanks again for coming on. And of course, I have to say thank you to everyone who joined us today to tune in for a preview of Season 9 and our Fallout First enhancements, and to hear from the dev team. Season 9 is coming with the Test Your Metal update on June 14th, which also features 3 permanent new public events that you'll be able to sink your teeth into. And you can learn more about them by visiting our articles on Fallout.com. We'll see you on Patch Day.